I have the distinct honor and pleasure to talk to my friend Halley of evolvesucceed.com. And I really wanted to invite her to talk about innovative content marketing because what you do is so out loud and awesome and very different from the other stuff I see in this space. And what really like triggered me to say, oh yeah, I need to talk to her was the Instagram feed you were doing for your most recent launch. I think it's most recent as we're talking. And so I want to start there, but before we get into all that, why don't you sort of tell people what you do so they kind of get a sense, and then we'll kind of dive into that launch and what that was for.
Cool. So mainly what I do and what I specialize in is getting VAs, designers, and coaches booked out in advance with clients. So it's all about being strategic and making sure that you're using content marketing and launching and customer service and filling up your wait list to basically make sure that you always have happy customers coming in and then repeat working with you because that's easiest and that's most profitable. And so we do that through content marketing and being a nice person.
That works, by the way.
It totally does. Totally does. And so that's what I do. And so when we were doing that Instagram, it was for our launch of Be Booked Out, and we were launching it, and that feature came out, and basically I love my job because I get to be my creative self online, but zany creative. Zerative.
I always say that my branding is like me dialed up to 11. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, it's basically me just on 10 cups of coffee.
Totally.
That's what I'm like when I'm on 10 cups of coffee. I'm basically more caffeine than common sense. So
awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about that launch on Instagram for a few minutes. And so what I noticed about it was that all of your posts were branded, like they were graphics you had created. They were awesome looking, of course.
Thanks.
But then the day that new feature came out on Instagram where you could swipe and add more pictures, you rocked it with a particular post that started with a graphic, and then you swiped and you had a video, and then you swiped and had another graphic, and then you had a video. And I was like, dang, she is using this to the outer limits of what it can do. So how did you come up with that? Did you know they were going to do that before it happened, or did you just come up with that on the fly?
No. So, that's why I call my business Evolve and Succeed, right? And it's all about evolutionary marketing, because you're going to have these new ways to connect with your customer or client that you need to jump on as soon as possible. Because we all kind of get stuck and be like, this works, I'm just going to do the same thing. So when that Instagram feature came out and I was like, oh, you can swipe across. I was like, well, fuck this shit. Can I swear?
No, it's okay. Cool.
Okay. All right.
We're all grown-ups here.
Yeah, I'm sure. And the advice will be good. So I was like, all right, cool. So how can I use this to engage with my ideal Be Booked Out client and student? And so I was like, oh, I know what I'll do is that I'm going to break stuff down into eatable bites instead of necessarily overloading them with a 3-minute video, because people don't like that. Everybody's got ADD, even if they don't have ADD.
Right.
So I was like, oh, cool. So I was just trying to find a way to use the feature that was already existing to help people understand better, why they should sign up, what's the point of it. And so it was pretty cool to see that feature come out and be like, oh, I know how I can use this best, because that's the cool thing is that kind of creativity and creative marketing and innovative marketing, the equation is pretty much the same, but how you deliver it is going to be different based on technology. And that's why it keeps evolving. So, so when I saw it, I was like, all right, how can I use this to improve my launch, to get people to notice it and to actually listen to it? And so sound bites are always great because people love something small and easy to action.
Yeah. Well, and I think jumping on it the day it came out was crazy smart, because people were excited to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
6 months, it might be old news, but that day, everybody was like, I want to see how this works.
Exactly. So you definitely want to be using things as they come out instead of taking your time. And I think a lot of the time people are too cautious when it comes to implementing new ideas or trying things out. And I found the fastest growth and success from being able to action things quickly instead of trying to figure things out fully and just trying them out and putting them out there. So that's the cool thing about the internet, is that you can really go from idea to putting it out there so fast now, whereas before it would have taken you thousands of dollars and years to get it out there.
Totally. You said something just a minute ago about how the equation is the same. We're just using technology a little bit differently. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Totes. So basically it's the same thing as like you, no matter what, because you would know, being a previous food reviewer or restaurant reviewer, food is basically the same, right? It's protein, it's carbs, and then it's that one other one, fat. Protein, carbs, and fat. I'm having a slow day. I've only
Love
had 3
some
cups
fat.
of
It's all
coffee.
good.
That is the most important part. How did I forget it? So basically all meals boil down to protein, carbs, fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's great. But if you think about the difference between like sushi and pizza, that's
Mm-hmm.
two very different experiences and two very different two very different solutions that come out of that equation. So it's the same thing with marketing. Really what you have is your person, your product, and then how you're going to communicate or get people excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically give a shit.
Yeah.
So that's your equation. And now how you deliver that is just going to change based on your technology, what you're doing, who you're trying to target. So basically the equation always stays the same. And all you're trying to do is find new ways to deliver it. It's kind of like the difference between taking your medicine as a pill form or as a shot form. Like which
Right.
one's going to work best for what you're trying to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, did you find a lot of engagement with that launch on Instagram? And like, how did that work out for you?
So we did an amazing job. Well, that sounds way too.
No, it's totally cool. Toot your horn.
Yeah. So we were basically testing out Instagram as our platform for that launch, just trying to use it and engage with it because Instagram, gets a lot of time. People spend a lot of time on Instagram reading, looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to test it out because previously we've been focusing on Twitter a lot, and Twitter's great. And so what we found was that, yeah, a lot of people came in, read stuff on Instagram, came through, and became students of Be Booked Out.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. So it was awesome to experiment with it and try it out. And it's totally worth doing. But I think the thing that made it most exciting is because it had these new features releasing. And
Mm-hmm.
since new features are releasing, it allows people to like get excited about the thing again. If you have an app or a tool or social media that doesn't keep evolving, people get bored with it. So basically you just want to be there when it starts evolving again and then kind of peace out and then, jump into the other one that's evolving.
Cool, cool. So you didn't have any trouble getting people off Instagram to your website? Because I know that's something I've heard people talk about is that because there's no like native link clicking, it can
Right.
be more challenging.
It's such a pain in the ass. So what we do is we just directed people back to the link in our profile and we sent them to like a webinar sign up or just directly to the sales page. And that was pretty awesome in terms of like the webinar converted much better. And then doing it through the webinar was a lot more of a higher converter, but at least we created brand engagement through sending people to the sales page and teaching them a bit about what it was about. So
very cool.
Definitely worth trying, but yeah, it is definitely one of the like worst things about Instagram is like, why can't I click this link? Come on.
Work with me, Instagram, right?
Yeah. Why do I have to pay for you to click a link? Why? I guess it is
kidding.
fun.
Yeah, because I have a lot of clients who come to me and they're excited about it, but like they're like, I don't know how to get people to convert off of it. So it's really about, it sounds like having the right sort of teaser to get people to follow the link.
It's definitely a lot harder, but I think the thing that we're underestimating is that it allows them to create a relationship with you more and allows them to trust you more because it's a lot harder to sell to them. So unless you do a promoted post, most people are like, oh, this is an interesting thing. They're just going to be a lot more honest about whether they give a shit about what you're talking about or not. And so it's just a really honest platform for being like, here's what I'm talking about. Do you find this interesting? And most people will be like, yeah, maybe, nah.
Right.
And
right.
so
get much more qualified leads if they go to the trouble of finding the link and clicking it.
All right, exactly. So it kind of is like Darwinism on a social media platform.
Social media Darwinism.
yeah. Only the most excited survive or click through.
I love it. So I know that you are also sort of well known in the space for doing really fun. I guess they used to be webinars and now they're shows, and you're doing some Facebook Live. You want to talk about like what's next? What are you innovating next?
So we've kind of got two aspects of what we do. Be Booked Out is our main program. So right now what we're doing is we're just focusing on that as our star of our business. And I say our like the queen because, well, I don't say it like the queen. I say it like a pirate captain, but we're focusing just on Be Booked Out because that's been our best result generator for our students. Like we're getting them clients, we're getting them booked out. They're just over the moon about how much amazing value it's delivering. So now that allows us some freedom to experiment with other stuff. And so part of that is doing drunk webinars, which is actually a show. Lacey here is, she's going to be part of our relaunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So still called drunk webinars, not necessarily a live webinar. So that's pretty exciting. So that allows us to do cool stuff like that, which is awesome. And then I just relaunched our podcast as a Facebook Live show called Braless on Couch Show. So it's really awesome for us to experiment and evolve our content because it's the same content, but we're trying it on different platforms. Same thing like Instagram. Like, you know, you might have a blog post that's awesome, but people don't want to read it. They want to see you talk about it. So it's always important to keep evolving with your technology that's available.
I love that. I love that. Talk to me a little bit about why you decided to switch from a podcast to a Facebook Live show.
Yeah. So the podcast was super easy to develop. I only did like 3 to 5 minute long shows, but basically it just wasn't working in terms of engagement. So, actually it was a friend who was like, hey, you should turn that into a show because you're so charismatic. And I was like, whoa, too many compliments. And she was like, well, you're good on video, so you might as well do video. And I was like, okay, cool. And so Braless on Couch, like part of the inherent problem or risk of business is getting bored by something, I think.
For sure. Yeah.
So a lot of it was like, well, let's try in a different format because it was easy to produce as a podcast because it would literally be a 5-minute segment and then be done. And people loved it, but it's time to evolve it because everything changes. And the Facebook Live shows I see being something that's got a lot more potential. And we're using really cool software that allows us to make it look like a fully developed show instead of just like,
cool.
It's amazing. So technology keeps evolving. So your marketing needs to evolve with it so that people get excited about it again. Because like I was saying before, if you're on a social media platform and they don't roll out new features, you get bored. So most of the time, you know, you got to evolve your marketing so that people just don't get bored with you and you don't go extinct. Originally, my name was going to be for the business Evolve or Die, but I was told that was a little too extreme.
And yet, I mean, pretty accurate, right?
Right? People would remember that because it sounds a little bit like a death threat. Or the better one.
Probably not good to threaten people.
They remember it, but
it is memorable. Yes.
Definitely makes you sound 100% like a pirate captain.
You just need like one of those curvy, what are those swords called? They have
Cutlass?
Cutlass, yes.
Yeah. I just need a sword
and parrot, maybe a
parrot.
There's your evolution of, I just did your branding for you.
Right. Exactly. We're done.
Check.
Scurvy me up. I'm ready.
Okay, so kind of last question here. So for people who are nervous to innovate and evolve, what would be your like number one tip or kind of life skill? I don't know what you want to say. Like, kind of get over that hump. Like, how do I do my first Facebook Live, or how do I decide to run with whatever that cool idea is I've had in the back of my head? Okay, so I've got a couple tips. Can I do all of them? Yeah, please. Okay, great. Throw them all out there.
This is kind of my rant because I talk to my students about this all the time.
Get up on that soapbox.
All right, I'm on the soapbox. I'm on the box. First off, when I go on the internet now, and it was different when I first started because I was like, oh, look at all these cool people. When I go on the internet now, I'm like, and it's not because the internet has changed, it's because I've changed because I've seen so much more. Everybody sounds the same, okay? So what I tell my students is stop using those circle jerk words where you're talking like another health coach and saying like, you know, you got it. Even something simple like green juices. If no one's ever drank a green juice before, they have no clue what you're talking about. Is it slime? Who knows?
It looks like it.
It looks exactly like it. And it tastes like it too. It's
I'm not a fan.
No, I know. Nothing I like better than a tree liquefied and put it into a sweet blender. What I would say is things like saying you're a brand specialist. Even people in the industry, only the people in your industry know what that means. So that's useless. You're not targeting people who already know how to do what you're doing. So branding, marketing, people glaze over when I say marketing, which is 100% fair. So I need to figure out new ways to talk about it. You know, anything where it's how you talk to other people in your industry about what you do, you should not be using that terminology because words will kill you. And then I would just say, fucking do it. Just fucking do it. Because there's really no way to know if it's going to be successful or not until you've done it and done it a few times. And so a lot of the time you'll be seeing someone's kind of not seasoned, but like they've done it a while and they've done their mess ups and they've probably deleted them from the internet. So you're not going to see those first pancakes, which are messy, but still delicious.
Right.
You're only gonna see the perfected ones. So, you know, you just have to do it, because at the end of the day, a lot of the success of business comes from putting stuff out there, not necessarily just innovating, but rather actually launching it into the world. So I've had flops. I've tried things where it didn't work out. The percentage is not as high as most people would think. Like usually like 4 out of 5 of my ideas are good, so we can use them, but usually you'll have to kill them because they just end up not producing either subscribers or, you know, revenue. So you got to let them go.
Right.
So yeah, so it's a crucial part, and a part that I'm kind of bummed that a lot of people don't jump on, because most people are trying to figure out if the idea is good in their head, and that's a horrible testing place. That's like a bad laboratory for you.
Right.
You need to put it out there, and possibly, worst case scenario, internet doesn't notice.
Guess what? There are typos and stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
There are flops. There are embarrassing videos.
Yeah.
They exist.
All the way. So, you know, you're not alone.
Right. Right. Very cool. Yeah. And the other thing I'm hearing you saying is like, test it, like have a way to know whether it worked or not. You have to have a you know, a metric of some kind to figure out whether or not it worked.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's really the crucial key, is like, if you don't know what the success of this looks like, then you can't judge if it's effective or not. So you really need to pull back and be like, what would be successful in my mind? And it doesn't always have to be money.
Right.
It can be relationships. It can be subscribers. It can be opportunities. It doesn't have to be money related, but you just need to be very clear about what you're trying to get out of it. And then I would still track those other 4, you know, money, subscribers, opportunities, and relationships, and see where it ends up.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I always love talking to you. You make me laugh. I think
you're awesome, Lacey.
It's just a love fest around here. It's great. So tell people, where can we find you? Where can we watch Braless on Couch? Where can we watch drunk webinars? Watch me drink some bourbon and get a little loopy.
Oh yeah, she gets so loopy. It's so much fun. It's ridiculous. So we're going to be relaunching drunk webinars soon. We're playing around with that format because we want to make sure that we keep it exciting. And then Braless on Couch is on our Facebook page, which is just facebook.com, Evolve Succeed. There's no and in that one. And then evolveandsucceed.com is our website. You can go check us out. If you're interested in Be Booked Out, we're over at bebookedout.com for that. And there's a sign up page if you want to be the first to know when it goes live again, which is soon.
Good. So, awesome. Yeah, I have heard massively good things about that program. So
thanks. We worked so hard to make sure that everybody gets success. And so thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us. And I'm going to be watching Braless on Couch for sure.
Definitely. It's the most comfortable Facebook Live show you can watch.
I'll be there.
Yes. Excellent.
Thanks, Halley.
Thank you.